So how long does it actually take for me to carve and tool out a fully floral tooled Western leather belt by hand? This is something that a lot of you guys are curious about, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of curious as well because it's been a while since I've actually timed myself. Now, this is obviously not gonna be a one size fits all. There's a lot of variables that can come into play on a project like this that can change the amount of time it takes. There are more simple designs, there are more complex designs, even the size of the belt from design right here. This belt is roughly 39 inches, which is a fairly average size. Most of my belts that I make for people are around that size, but even if you add just a few more inches on it, that can change the time as well. So I know that I am a lot quicker now than I was when I first started, but I'm probably slower now than I will be in the future. This is something that it takes a lot of time to learn the tools, learn your skills, develop those skills. And as you progress, you will become more efficient. And that's what I've noticed is I've become a lot more efficient now than I was a few years ago when I first started. But this is still a very lengthy process. This is just a belt strip that I ripped off of a big hide. I did go ahead and already draw out the designs on this. Most of you guys know that I just freehand my designs with a pencil directly onto the leather. I would say I've probably got an hour to an hour and a half worth of work into drawing that design already alone, but I'm not going to count that, and I'm not going to show the full finishing, the coloring and edges process on this video either. I'm just going to be counting how long it takes for me to actually carve and tool this design from start to finish. So let's get right to it. So first things first, the leather I'm using is some Herman Oak full grain natural vegetable tanned leather, and this is an 9-10 ounce thickness. That is what this main body that I'm tooling on is. And I do have it backed with some blue painter's tape, and that's just to help mitigate the amount of stretch that you're going to see throughout this process. As you're pounding those tools into that leather, you want to try to limit the amount of stretch that you're going to get, because we want to keep this the same width all the way throughout and not get wonky on us. Here is what that design looks like that I drew out. Once again, I freehand all of these designs right onto the leather, and I typically prefer to use an 8B pencil, just like that. The graphite's very soft, it transfers easy. If you need to erase it, you can do that. So yeah, let's go ahead and wet this thing down and get to carving on it. Quick plug, because I know somebody's gonna ask, no, this particular belt pattern is not available, but I do offer some similar belt designs that you can actually purchase and download from my website. So go check that out, gertyleatherco.com. I'll link everything in the description. I also have videos going through a similar process like this, tooling those designs out. So I hope that helps. So coming over here and looking at my pretty cool Copenhagen clock, it is going to be roughly 12:25 afternoon when I get started on this. So let's see how long it takes. What the? My bottle just decided to crap out on me, apparently. There we go. fan on in here, so my leather was getting dry a little bit quicker than I normally like, so I had to re-wet it down a couple of times, but I did finally get all of it carved out. Let's go see how long it took. Pretty much right at 1 o'clock, so we got about 35 minutes in carve time. We're at the tooling block now, which is where I'm actually going to use all of these little metal tools you can see up here and this maul to actually pound those tools into this leather, chisel away, and actually bring this design to life. It's a lengthy process, and the tools that I typically start off with are going to be my bevelers and my crowners, which are going to take up the most time in this process because I have to run these particular tools down all of these lines. If you want to look at these tools up close and get a little bit better idea about them and how I like to use them, and a few of the other tools I'm actually going to use in this video, go check out my top 10 Barry King stamping tools video. I will link that in the description. It'll give you a really close-up look at a lot of these tools I'm about to use, how I like to use them, so on and so forth. And we finally got all of the beveling finished. Now we'll move on to the finer detail work, but let's go see how long this took. All right, almost 2:25, so we've been at this belt so far for almost right at 2 hours, and we have carved and beveled it. Let's go see how long the rest of it takes. Okay, we're just about finished with it. All we have left to do is take our swivel knife and make our finished decorative cuts, and then this will be all finished. It's a little bit dry, so I'm going to wet it down with some water a little bit more. I'm going to let that water soak in just a hair, and then I'll get to cutting on it, and we should be all finished. Now we are just a little bit before 4 p.m. I don't think the decorative cuts will take very long, so let's get to it. So it took me pretty much exactly 4 hours to carve and tool that belt out. I'm not gonna lie, that kind of surprised me. I thought it would take a little bit longer. I would say anywhere from 4 to 5 or 6 hours is what I would average out at. And again, there's a lot of variables that can come into play, but yeah, we were literally right at 4 hours. So here's another close-up look at the belt. So in 4 hours, we took this piece of leather from absolutely nothing to something, which is really cool. You know, it's very, very involved. That was 4 active hours. I didn't take a break. Like I said, there's a lot of variables that can come into play that can change that time, either up or down. A simple basket stamp belt doesn't take that long, but if you were to go with a little bit more intricate design or even a longer belt, then that time's going to be changed drastically. So again, keep all of that in mind. When I first started out, a belt like this would honestly take me 7 or 8 hours. It would be an entire day of tooling. So like I said, I am much faster now, much more efficient with my tools. I don't have to think about it as much. I usually just know where to place them and hit them. So that's why I am able to do this work in this amount of time nowadays. So yeah, I'm not going to film the entire finishing process on this belt, but even with everything else that I have to do, like oiling it, dyeing it, painting it, line it, stitch it, work on the edges, I've still got at least that same amount of time, if not double that. Honestly, especially including dry time, I've probably got at least another full day's worth of active labor that will go into this belt before it will be fully finished. So not just something that you can click out and it's ready to go. There are products like that out there, but not here. So hope you enjoyed. Till next time, we'll see you. Also, I know there's going to be some of you out there that are quicker and some of you that take longer. Let me know in the comments how long it takes you to do a similar style belt. Not that it matters to compare because we're all different, but I would love to know. So, thanks.